All right, so since I was 3 and 4 years old in my reemergence, before full erasure, so they could play around with even more dangerous equipment with moving me into different area, unbeknownst to me and my handler. Now here's the thing. All right, so on my way in, which I really didn't want to, and that's even under question and should be under investigation at the moment. But in preparation, like preparation H, like you put on a hemorrhoid, right? You're supposed to shrink the tissues of a hemorrhoid. Instead, what humans did was somehow, with the Mickey Mouse Sticker Club being the guys in some kind of floating battleships out in the water where nobody can find them, making all sorts of deals with all sorts of things. I'm supposed to be the devil. Here's the thing. Like, the jinn are the devil. Yeah, well, sure we are, because, like, children, when you stupid fucking humans want to hurt one another, we have to say as parents, no, you can't hurt the other person. We're taking away the thing that you're using to hurt the other child. Tends not to give one the best, like, reputation. First of all, the stupid fucking child that's hurting everybody gets mad, gets upset, their feelings get hurt, and then they have a tendency to spread like wildfire, slanderous and like horrific rumor about the one good person who's trying to help all the others that she can't get a hold of. Right, okay, so that's where the devil comes from. Yeah, I'm okay with that title. I really don't give a shit what the fuck you idiot little humans think, especially when I know what you're all up to. So now, next piece of business is on the way in. I don't know what a prime minister is. I met with Yeltsin. Really, really wonderful man. Was kind and gentle to me, anyway. So he sat in on a stool. And again, this is like not a laboratory stool. When you almost like a chair, a chair, but without a back, like without the backbone, like without the back support. Which again, I want to be careful with how to translate things, especially that far away. So now he was very kind, but again, he spoke English very well. But even for myself, I had to sit and I was just looking at him. I was kind of like I did with the Irish, or I don't know if he was English, Irish, whatever he was, when I went to Claudia's graduation in the garden, whatever that was. He was speaking so fast, and it was like if you watch it on like human like interactive headgear, it's almost like a Beethoven's bar, the like musical sheet, and you can see like the notes, like the intonation. It goes up, it comes down, then it like it's a braille of a different sort, and it has like movement to it, but that's their audio waves in my echo chamber. So sometimes when I'm not used to the pattern until my one side of my whatever tunes into their vocal pattern, then I can get settled with that side, and then I can start focusing on the words. But at first, especially so young, it was like he was going so fast. I mean, the English and Irish go so fast when they speak, and up and down. So it is like a disorienting factor, especially considering the humans that I was near were so monotone and just, I mean, like not interesting ever. So with Yeltsin, he had a different. He was more like my Italians. My Italians had a more what I call pazienza and simpatico, not so like like allegro, like right? It was more like adagio, attenzione. I mean, it's a feeling you give, like a vibe of. So again, I don't. Right? He said he was a prime minister. He had gray hair and he had blue eyes and he had really light skin, more light than myself right now because I can see myself in the reflection, and I look very coffee color, like very. I don't know. I look much darker than I normally am. But I don't know if it's the tint of the camera or no, it's not the sepia. I don't know. So anyway, so he said he was a prime minister. I said, they're not in, right. He said, no, I know. I just wanted to verify that because, right, we have Russian club coming, trying to teach you some different letters. We're going to try to send some Greek letters in there as well. They want to know if you know what the difference is or if you know any or seen any of them. And he said, well, I said, okay. I said, no, I said, there's some, no, at that point, right, there was no talk of bar or bat mitzvahs, I don't think, because I was like, not 8 or 9, no. I was probably about 8 or 9, maybe 10, yeah, 8 or 9, I think, somewhere around there, wherever 4th grade is. What is 4th grade? I gotta think about this, because he's in 2nd, so maybe 10, 11, maybe. Anyway, so he came and he had a woman, a staff member, I suppose, with him that had a paper with my grandmother and grandfather's picture on it. And he said that his grandfather looked very much like my grandfather, which I thought was interesting. Now, I gotta think about this. And that was Antonine. Also, on that note, the house that Antonine bought in New York that shares the wall with the Korean family, where Jenny stopped in when I was younger, when we had the fence incident outside where the ball went over, and there was a wood fence with slats, and then there was a jagged metal other fence that couldn't be seen as well until I went. She said to go under, and I said, yeah, but I don't want to hurt myself. And she said, you won't, you're little enough. And so I tried, and then I wound up hurting myself. And then I said, you know what, I'm going to walk around. And let's think about this. Yeah, Jenny said her mom was really not a nice person, or understanding or forgiving. I was like, oh, yeah, well, mine's just not right. She's just a broken robot. I don't know. I mean, anyway, so let's think about this. Right. So he said something about a prime minister. I said, no, I don't, right. He said, well, no, I'm going to explain. You have a president. Where I come from, we have prime ministers. I said, what's the difference? Right. One's a government, one's a, right. I mean, and like that's the whole thing. It's like you get so used to like either you're born into something or you just it's just you fall into something and then it just becomes you're all consumed with it. But if you have to sit down and explain to a child and build like a reality wall with all the pieces and what the functions are, could you do it on improv? Or do you have to sit down and in piecemeal do it by hand in like a project manner? And then do you really want that laying around? I don't know. It's your process. But but I didn't really even, I mean, none of my people even talk about prime minister anything ever. I mean, they'll watch some guy named Bill Maher, and he's not the science guy, that's Bill Nye, the science guy. Bill Maher's a loudmouth, obnoxious New Yorker like myself. Well, actually, he's probably more obnoxious because in person, I'm a really nice person. It's just on this where I really don't give a shit, and I'm really fucking pissed at humans in totality. Just so it's for my own edification and documentation and notation in like how am I going to handle things when I finally find rescue. let's think, it's accountability for the humans because they're supposed to do some things, and I really haven't seen them do any of them, quite frankly. Oh, by the way, I noticed the Korean count, though. Thank you on that one. I mean, the Korean count has gone down on a daily visual. I don't know if it's a COVID thing, if you finally rounded them up and executed them all for invading a foreign land. But either way, if it's right, thanks on taking care of that if you finally got rid of the vermin problem. Okay, let's think about this. So now, right, why do so many of them have to be in lab coats and pretend like they're doing something with, and then moving things, right? Oh, right. So they say that it stems out from the people really in control are the people who are in control of nuclear codes and the missiles. Right. Okay. So then did anybody check with the guy from Chernobyl? Or, I mean, I'm sure he's not there anymore, but what happened to the guy that hit the guy from Chernobyl? Did anybody follow up with that guy? Like, who let that one out? Because I know Japan's been lying about a fat boy and that they've got hit, but by the looks of the way that they've built up so significantly in the time frame from which they are reporting that they were hit, I'm thinking some things going on, like Japan hit the button first in some chicken fight between chicken and Japan and Ukraine, or is that Poland? I don't really know. And there would be no witness left, I don't think, because again, but anybody out in the water gonna like take responsibility? Like, I mean, is this where like the Pope and the Vatican guys come in, or are they looking at like the DC Comics and what the fuck do they do all day? Nobody knows. I think they say the Pentagon is there. Nobody knows what goes on in that building. I mean, there's no word that comes in and out, and they just run inefficiently on their own. I mean, I think they show up every day. Who the hell even knows that? It's not like they send security cameras or footage or feed. Well, I'm locked in prison. But now here's another question. So you've got the guys who think they're in charge are the ones with the right codes and knows where missiles are. Great. Okay. So then what's the fucking problem? Why did I get locked in New York? Right. Okay. So I have there's a governor, but I don't know him. And he's like 8 hours away in Albany. I'm in downstate New York, closer to Jersey, but God only knows what their mayor is. Who cares? I mean, like, nobody teaches anything. And it's not like anybody comes out of their closet that they hide in with all their skeletons. So then there's, let's think about this. There's no union reps anywhere. New York has withdrawn its Catholic ministries. It's Jewish. I mean, I hear that there's some, I met this guy, Amir, and Ophir, so Amir and Ofear, both from Israel, I believe. And they both have dual whatever. They come here and then they go there and they travel. But now they have some kind of community of Jewish descent or whatever it is that they decide upon the proper word. So they still have a community, not that I'm invited into it. But the Catholics seem to be gone as far as their ministry. The Protestants, the one that I went to was St. John's Episcopalian Church by the fish hatchery over in Cold Spring Harbor, right? Shauna Hildebrand and her dad, the problem people with Korean or the Chinese looking mom, but she has a much broader nose. I think that's Thailand, Malaysia, somewhere around there. Nobody gives a shit, right? Yeah, somewhere on the darker, almost dark, right, color with a larger, flatter nose, right? Okay, whatever that is. So they were in my church. So it's a little hard to speak Nazi when you have the enemy that attends and nobody fucking puts them in their place. And if you were looking at my dad, you already knew better. So don't even go there. So now, when is this ministry showing up? I'm just curious. Because I wasn't invited to Lloyd Harbor Bathhouse. They wouldn't give my parents the references. Lindsay Hauer's mom wouldn't write it. Let's think. Lindsay Hauer was one, and was it Vicky Rodella was the other one? I gotta think. She needed two, and she asked around, and they wouldn't. Oh no, then my dad had problems with money after that. So that locked me in isolation in Cold Spring Harbor all by myself, while all the shitbags and espionage, pay dirters were all conspiring in Long Island, ruining everyone's fucking future. So here's the deal. Where are these good men that hold the codes for the nuclear things? Because, right, one of them said on the phone, the only way you ever really get anybody to move in this world, Nicole, is through action. Right, got it. Okay, so I'm all about action. I clarified that murky, like, how did they get to this? Right, okay, so they started siphoning dirt out of the ocean with their university permits in Yeshiva University. Nobody was watching. And then they took that and they made their own vitrification process. They then started finding new ways to make as much glass and as much money for themselves as possible. Right, and then they made new dangerous friends with other things that look slightly venereal diseased in the eye, meaning money hungry, and has a different banjo on its tune of, that didn't sound right, that didn't act right, yeah, got that. Okay, so that's what happened. So then there was 3 generations and nobody gives a shit in New York as it slowly broke itself. Big skyscrapers going up, all the glass in the world you can use and sell, right? Yeah, you are selling them your future, you stupid fucking idiot Trump and cronies. Anyway, so then I got, let's think about this. So then we've got, so they've withdrawn all ministry. There's no prime minister anywhere in New York. You got some UN building, but it's just for criminals to come in, check on their business assets, and then leave. And I'm not one of them. Let's see. Anything else we missed? Right, so they withdrew all of the important education, purposely leaving me when my appearance as the djinn, and a seer of prime importance. They purposely left me in a derelict position, holding me down while they fight over God only knows what. So why don't you take some of those good old nuclear heads and just hit each one of their bank account, like, capitals, and we'll start there and see if they loosen up their grip on letting me out of the fucking New York. Right, it's year 2020. I mean, I said this at 3 and 4. I don't know what is so hard about you pushing some fucking magical buttons and just hitting the correct cities all at once. Because, like, we really don't need laboratory kids that like to play with, like, blue liquid and green liquid and red liquid, and we could test other people's blood and then put it in a magical machine so somebody else can take the code and then make magical diseases, and then they have to try to make a magical antidote, which is the vaccine on more computers. Why do we need these humans? Because they're not necessary. They're not essential. In fact, they are the real problem. So are there any of those good guys on the ships? I mean, I know they're big ships. Do you get lost in there? Because, I mean, do you need more like a catamaran size, like the small ones? I mean, what's going on with, like, your efficiency, guys? I'm just confused as to who's in charge of what and what takes you also want to do the right thing. Like, there's no more working off of your word and good honor anymore. They fucked that up before I got here. They proved by siphoning off money, finding a new route for it, going to market without working within the, like, legal spectrum of how are we going to control the spin on this? I can't have world growth this significant, this fast, in this many places. Hello, bioterrorists.